Last year around Christmas time, I released a video where I talked about failing to beat FE7's Hector hard mode only using Kent and Sain, the Christmas Cavalier. In that video, I broke down the run and theorized on the various things that went wrong with the run, and I promised to retry this run with those things in mind, and later that month to celebrate Christmas as Kent and Sain are the Christmas Cavaliers of FE7, I tried once again to beat FE7 with only those two characters. So today, to celebrate the holiday season and Christmas, as it should be like a couple days away now, we'll break down that run and see if I finally managed to do it. So if you haven't watched that last video, well, go check it out. Go check it out. It's a fantastic video. I'm not biased at all, I swear. I'm very much unbiased here. But if you don't want to go watch it, I get it. It's not entirely necessary to understand this video, as I'll break down all my decisions and the rationale behind them in this video like I would in a normal video. But like, you know, go be a homie and watch that other video, you know? First things first, before we start, I need to say that this whole run was done on stream, live right here on my YouTube channel. So, you know, sometimes maybe I won't do everything in the best possible way, as I was chatting away with chat and having a good time. Mistakes might happen, but I'll try to break them down when they do. All right, let's first of all look at the rules first. First off, hard mode all the way through. I can only bring Sain and Kent on maps. No other unit is allowed unless they're force deployed or they are Merlinous. No major cheats, but I'll allow a single glitch, which I will break down once we get there, but know that there will be a glitch allowed, and I'll explain the rationale behind why I'm allowing it when we get there. And unlike my solo runs where I limit myself to a single healing item per map, here I can bring as many healing items or use as many of them as I want, as the supply in FE7 works very differently than in FE8, so it's really hard to just abuse healing on a fort like I would be able to do in my FE8 solo runs if I allowed unlimited healing. Here, no rules against just bringing a full inventory of potions, but you will see later why doing that would just be stupid. So it's really a non-issue. It's just to make the run like kind of doable at this point. So with all this out of the way, you might be noticing that right now I have a Kent going through Lin mode. Why the heck am I doing Lin mode? Well, in last year's video, what I broke down was one of our biggest problems when it came to doing this run was that one of our calves, don't want to name names, but he's the one you're seeing on screen right now, ended up being quite underleveled in the late game and just was a huge liability. Because unfortunately we had to rely mostly on Sain to get through some of the tougher maps. So Kent ended up getting a little shafted on the experience front. This could be solved by splitting the levels a little bit more evenly, but I believe that while a crutch, Lin mode does provide a unique opportunity that makes the run a lot more manageable, especially considering that I'm doing these runs on stream, so XP management sometimes a little harder when I have to entertain chat at the same time and answer questions and do a bunch of things, and multitasking is not my strong suit. I'm very stupid, okay? So I decided to go through Lin mode first, which outside of allowing Kent to solo level for 11 maps, gives us other unique opportunities that will make this run a little easier. First off, 2 free stat boosters in the form of the Energy Ring and Angelic Robe that will sorely help Kent, because strength is not his strong suit, and you know, who doesn't like extra HP? And it will also grant Kent the opportunity to get promoted when he joins in Hector hard mode, because there is a Knight's Crest available through Lin mode, which then means that concentrating all the experience on Sain later is less of a problem. But also grabbing both of the early Knight Crests in Hector hard mode kind of sucks when you're limited to 2 characters, as both early Knight Crests require rushing, but I'll expand a little bit more on that later in the video. So unsurprisingly to everyone, Lin mode will be a joke with a solo Kent, as it would be with any solo unit for that matter, because Lin mode, even on hard, isn't that hard. I guess Kent is, you know, the exception, because he's got a little bit of a single instance here where, yeah, he's gonna game over, not dodge anything. Thank you, Kent. After all, it's Kent. He's gonna do Kent things, which is be a disappointment. Sorry if you're a Kent fan. I might insult Kent a little bit in this video. He is my least favorite of the FE7 cabs. The best one is, of course, Lowen, Weirdly enough, when I was a kid, I loved Kent, but as I've grown older, for some reason, I've grown a little bit sour on him. It's maybe because he keeps growing in the worst way possible as a unit. Perhaps it has a little bit of something to do with that. Either way, I'm not here to make another diss video on another FE7 unit. You may be wondering why I'm only using Kent and not Sain here, because you can see Sain is deployed on some maps, but for the purposes of this run to make it work, what I ended up doing in FE Builder was switching Sain with Hector and switching Kent with Lyn. So the other Kent and Sain you'll see on maps are the false Kent and Sain. They will not be used. And the Sain you're seeing now is not the same one as later, so we'll leave him alone and ignore him as we would any other unit. Alright, before we take a look at Kent's level 20, since I'll promo him at the end of Lyn mode, we'll move on to Hector hard mode and Sain and take a look at both Cavaliers, bases, and growths, because I don't really think there's a lot of value in showing you Lyn mode here because there's no challenge in it. It's really just a pure training arc for a less than decent unit. First things first, whether you look at their Lyn mode or Hector mode bases, the stat through line between both of them is quite clear in terms of base stats, that is. Kent has better HP, skill, speed, and resistance. Sain has better strength, defense, and luck. While that might seem to favor Kent, generally speaking, it really doesn't. Because when it comes to their growth, Sain tends to do better due to his very strong strength growth, which competes with units such as Hector and Dorcas, which are some of the highest in the game. While he will remain much more accurate than the other two despite his low skill growth due to the higher base accuracy of swords and lances, which he'll mostly use. Not for this run specifically, I'll get into that later, but generally speaking. This gives Sain a more defined identity as a powerhouse, while on the other hand, Kent falls into the unfortunate role of having much more balanced stats. And I'm saying much more balanced stats equal unfortunate because much like Eliwood, this kind of makes him forgettable in terms of growth. Since whenever it comes to these kind of middle of the pack growth units in Fire Emblem, it is my belief that it always just feels like a lottery. Sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be bad, but most of the time you'll be missing one or two stat in crucial places to make these characters stand out. Due to everything being so homogenous that it's just not super interesting in the end. And in my experience, that has usually been how Kent has turned out. So you might have a very different experience than me because again, his growths are very much a lottery compared to Sain, who is much more defined in what he does and what he will want to do. But those are our Christmas Cavaliers, which is the name of the archetype, by the way, due to their color schemes. One is green, one is red, the colors of Christmas, of course. And usually they have the more classically defined role of one high skill and speed, while the other one is higher defense and strength. But in FE7, it's not exactly as clear cut since Kent has slightly better defense growth than Sain somehow. Either way, Sain is usually seen as the more dependable combat unit than Kent, which will probably make him the main carry for this run, while Kent will act as a setup and support mule most of the time. And the eagle-eyed viewers among you will have noticed that for Lyn mode, I use Kent's level 1 stat, simply to make it more challenging, even though it didn't change much. But for Sain, he has his Hector mode stats. And there is a reason for this. It's not only because I'm playing him in Hector mode, because if I could have, I would have given him his level 1 stats. But simply put, we had to put him at level 4 with his level 4 stats, his Hector hard mode stats, because it's the only way to make the chapter actually possible. Hey guys, editing Kratos jumping in here. It seems that when making the run, I messed up, which is why you're seeing me now, the editing guy, the editing version of me. I made a little bit of an error when doing the run a year ago. It seems that, I mean, I'll put it up on screen right now so you can see it, but the Sain that I imported has the stats of a level 4 Sain, but has a level 1, which means I messed up in FE Builder when I did the run itself. No one seems to have picked up on it during the stream, it seems, and I literally just picked up on it when I was like finishing up the edit for this video. It's simply a mistake. I made an error. There's no other ways to say it. I messed up. No one in the stream at the time of the hundreds of people watching noticed it or commented on it, and it seems that no one else after went to rewatch the VOD also picked up on it. So, you know, don't know if it's that big of a deal, but to me it is enough of a big deal that I need to come in here and told you guys about it. So I don't really know if it invalidates the run or not, but it certainly makes it a little bit more borderline, I would say, because Sain is going to get 3 extra levels, which is going to skew his stats like a lot and make the unit analysis that I make in this video a little silly. The reason I'm still posting the video, though, is because it's almost done. It's a fun Christmas video nonetheless. But yeah, you'll probably see me again later in the video because I do want to touch on his leveled up stat with, you know, the hindsight of the 3+ levels in mind, because I do think it is quite important to talk about it. But I have a reason to think it doesn't fully invalidate the run. We'll get to talking about it later in the video, but I still wanted to come in here early and kind of just tell you guys that I made a mistake. It happens. I'm sorry. I try to be very careful when I set up these runs, but sometimes mistakes happen, and that was one of those. I think I messed around too much with the character, and I ended up forgetting something. So this Sain is going to look a little good early on, and I think it's going to affect a little bit of his performance early on, but as for his later performance, I'm going to explain why in a little bit. I think it's still kind of legit despite that. I think it's, you know, if you want to consider this run not a valid run, sure, go ahead. I won't argue with you about that in the comments. I think that later on when you'll see me again, you will realize why I don't think it had as big of an impact as it might seem right now. So I'm sorry about the mistake, but I still think it's a fun video nonetheless. So you can keep watching. Hopefully it's a fun time regardless. I promise. After many tests last year, I had tried this chapter with a level 1 Sain to make sure you could complete it on his own, and at level 1, the hard mode bonuses on the enemy made it nearly impossible. On top of that, before any levels happen, a level 1 Sain with an Iron Lance, which is the only weapon you would have, actually can't damage the boss wire. So you need an even more blessed Sain just to get out of chapter 11. So I opted against trying to win the lottery, because I'd much rather win it in real life, and I went with the already leveled Sain to at least have a chance of making out of the prologue. And you'll see it's still not quite a cakewalk. I have to be quite deliberate with my movement because the damage even from the soldiers is not insignificant. All right, as some of the early maps play behind, let's talk about our level 20 Kent from early years. We're going back in time. So this Kent is actually quite decent in certain areas, considering his energy ring and angelic robe. He's actually 1 HP and 2 strength short, which sucks, but it's to be expected with Kent. Luckily, we had the energy ring to pad his strength, which we can only assume would be lower than average because it always fucking is. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain it. It always is. His luck is also 2 points lower, which isn't great, but he'll have 1 more point in speed than average and 3 more points in defense, which is very nice to have. That's a nice little boon right there. So some ups and some downs. But we'll have to do our best with this, especially if he can manage to survive combat. That's the goal. Sain will be able to do the rest quite easily, most likely. But before Sain can do any of that, he has to get out of the early game. And unlike FE8, FE7's first few chapters can cause quite a few issues, even for generally considered decent units. Chapter 12 and 13 mainly, as you get the levels going, can be a little challenging for solo units due to the fact that enemy unit quality is slightly better here, but also because the force deployed units are a little bit more under pressure than normal. So managing them and moving them out of the way is key, but also sometimes will force Sain in a bad position to avoid them having to get involved. Because I can unequip their weapons, which I do, but I try to limit the use of them as kind of bait, since I think that goes against the spirit of solo runs, but sometimes there's no real place to move them where they're not a little bit in the way. So the act of trying to limit that puts Sain in bad positions at time, causing some game overs. With Eliwood also being a game over condition, thank you Eliwood, thank you so much for that. It's important to manage around keeping him safe, so that's also a little tougher. Additionally, in the early game of FE7, economy is a little bit more shoddy than in traditional FE8, where you just get thrown a boatload of money at you, and you can also just sell stuff on the overworld map without having to worry, and you can buy stuff that way too, so it's a little bit easier to manage. So you're going to have Oswin and Marcus act as mules, most often holding on to items they can't use just to be able to sell them whenever I get an opportunity. Or even items I need later on since I don't have access to a supply like I would in FE8. On chapter 12, I'll grab the secret book after a few attempts, and on chapter 13 I'll grab the mine village, but I'll be skipping the Merlinus village. And from that point forward, I'll start to hit my stride with Sain as he got those aforementioned levels under his belt, so he's gonna start getting a good rhythm going for the next 2 maps. But while this is happening in the background, let me explain why I skipped the Merlinus village and grabbed the mine instead. The first thing with Merlinus is that when doing these challenge runs, I'll try to do two things. Avoid unnecessary maps. So that means any guidon that doesn't provide an obvious bonus will be skipped. And I want to conserve weapon usage. You see, in battle preparation in FE7, there's no shop, like I've already said. So for me to buy all my weapons, the management has to be done on maps directly, which means less access to weapons consistently. And that in turn means that every single use of an item is far more valuable and can cause me to soft lock myself if I were, for example, to run out of usable weapon on a map. And you might think that I could just use the convoy to avoid that. Well, that would be false, since in FE7, unlike FE8 and most Fire Emblems after Sacred Stones, you can't just access the convoy through your lord. You have to go through the Merlinus's little tent that can't move. So you have to keep it alive and protect him on all the maps to be able to go get stuff in it. You can easily drop stuff in it from far away, but to grab new items, you have to go to it. An additional problem to that is that FE7 is somewhat designed with that mechanic in mind, so reinforcements originating near Merlinus is common enough of a trope on a lot of maps, forcing you to strategize around that. But in a solo or duo run format, you simply do not have the manpower to handle that extra task like you would in a normal run. So doing the Merlinus map to get the tent early becomes a little bit of a fool's errand, as on most early maps, you won't be able to keep him alive for more than a couple of turns for him to have an actual impact on your inventory. But you also waste a lot of weapon uses keeping him alive on his guidance chapter to get him early. So that means skipping him is far more effective of a strategy, as you'll be able to spend your early gold on chapter 12 and 13 and not use those weapons on a map where the reward you get out of it is entirely useless for that type of run. And on top of that, the extra weapons you get, you can just give them to Marcus and Oswin and Eliwood in your party. And when they are undeployed anyways, they'll just hold on to them. So you don't need Merlinus, as you won't even have that many items to figure out early. It's not like you need 50 spots. You only need like a couple just to make sure you have the right amount of weapons and items to move forward until you get to unlock him naturally in chapter 17. With that being said, it does mean that sometimes we'll have to discard some items, but overall, it shouldn't be a problem. It just simply requires a more precise weapon choice before starting the map than FE8 does. Now onto the reason I picked up the mine, because it's actually important. And it's to do the mine glitch, which is the glitch I talked about earlier, but I will be getting more into it later. But basically, there is a glitch in GBA Fire Emblem that allows you to use mines to control the enemy. And you can do it on the Vida chapter where she has the Uber Spear, which is a spear that grants insane bonuses. You can get it as a drop. The reason I allow this glitch here is simply for testing purposes. You see, in FE7, and this is a topic I'll touch in more detail in a later video I'm working on, but the final boss is kind of a problem for solo/duo runs because of the lack of consistent super effective damage against that specific enemy. So I was scared that there was a possibility to be locked out of the final chapter, and that would have been a very unsatisfying ending for viewers who watch a 10+ hour long stream live. So I want to make sure that if things went sideways at the end, I had a backup plan to try and finish the run. So the spear itself won't be used until that map if it needs to be used, but we'll touch on that later in the video. But don't worry, I'm not doing it to get an easy ride. It's simply just for that insurance purpose. All right, as you can see on chapter 15, we'll avoid the fight and just sit on the throne, as we need to protect it to finish the map. It would be nice to grab the Draco shield from the boss that drops it, but without 2 units, it's simply impossible. You'll also see that I didn't equip any weapons in order to not waste the weapon usage, which you just spent a lot of time talking about. On chapter 16, we'll join back with Lindis and crew, and that means that we finally get our Kent back, so the duo run can begin. And this somewhat trivializes this map, as most of the challenge here is to get the Lin's group to help them normally. But with a promoted paladin on their side, there really isn't an issue. So outside of learning that Kent is a chump who, despite being a paladin and technically 4 levels ahead of Sain, still can't one round a basic cavalier, nothing else of note really happens here. So as we'll move into chapter 17, we'll finally get access to Merlinus, who will be deployed most of the time going forward. While it doesn't have any long-term positive impact, it can allow him to dump early drops in the convoy at least. But generally speaking, it's just kind of we bring him for in case we need to drop something early on, but he usually dies pretty quickly, so it won't be a huge factor. On this map you're seeing right now, our main concern will be rushing both of our cav forward. There isn't a useful item on the left side chest, while the top side one does have both a silver sword and night crest. We'll only be able to get one of those, unfortunately, and the night crest, Sain will want to use it. And as I was saying earlier, this is one of the early ones to rush down to be able to get a night crest for both your cavaliers. And this one, in my opinion, while being like a very close time crunch, is the easy one of the two. So while the cavs barrel down the corridor, let's take a look at Sain's level 20. And of course, unlike Kent, Sain is absolutely cracked out of his mind. 6 HP above average, which might be one of the biggest gaps I've seen in these videos so far. Maxed out strength, which is great, with 1 above average. 3 more skills than average, 4 more speed above the normal, average luck, 2 more points in defense than normal, and 3 points above average in resistance. So while unexpectedly good, he is keeping up the tradition of being better than his red counterpart in Kent. Thank you, Sain, for not letting me down like Kent does all the time. So it's a good start on that end. We'll end the map with only having grabbed the night crest, as I've said before. And the thief can also get the first chest for free. Usually it's really hard to get to him. And I didn't really have a key to open it, so getting it off the thief's corpse as loot is good enough for me. At the end of every map, I'll make sure to build up the support between both characters to quickly get the A support, as supports will matter a lot to make them way stronger. I'll also make sure to save only 1 soldier to get a second mine, since the glitch we talked about earlier in Hector hard mode specifically requires 2 mines. Next up, you do see that I'll do 17x, which, as I said, if I can skip maps, I will do it. But here there is an advantage to doing this guide in particular. It's not really hard. We can use the extra training. There is a shop right after it where we can easily fill up stuff and give it to Merlinus. And this map provides us with 1 secret book from Canis, and all the houses have interesting enough rewards that it's a good way to set up our economy for the next few maps. So on the pirate ship map, the main issue will be reaching those shops that are right beside spawn. You can quickly buy stuff from them, send it to Merlinus, and we get to replenish all the uses we used earlier. And this map will be pretty quick, as I will run down the boss and kill him pretty early on, which ends the map. The UI map that follows won't be tough, while UI, in my experiences, can be one of the challenging bosses of this game. Between the longsword we got on the pirate ship earlier and the horse layer we got from killing Eric, he'll end up being quite the piece of cake for 2 paladins with super effective weapon. Even though super effective damage in FE7 is only 2 times X, it's still better than regular damage. But as you see all this action in the back, I think it's important to note that I'll be training Sain to S rank axes, while Kent will do so with lances. The reasoning here is all around the final boss. As I mentioned earlier, he does have insane defense. So out of the 3 unique weapons we get on the final map that our cavaliers friends can yield, 2 of them have the highest might, the first one being Basilicos, the axe, and Rex Hasta, the lance, which again means to maximize this potential damage, we need to S rank those particular type of weapons to be able to hope to be able to finish the game. Dragon's Gate follows the UI map, as I also skipped the guidance, as the only drop on that map that matters would be a goddess icon, and I don't see the general effectiveness of getting +2 luck overall and wasting all those weapon usage. But you'll see that Dragon's Gate isn't a huge problem, as the massive cavalier in the middle will be taken out by super effective horse slayer and the longsword. It'll be a very easy map, and on top of that we'll get a couple of drops that we'll be able to sell later. And between this and the next map, our economy problems that I mentioned earlier will be quite easily fixed. And we start hitting our stride in terms of speed. As both Sain and Kent are getting good experiences, our economy is in the right place, and it secures me as a player a little bit on the next steps of the game, which can be hard because they were hard in that previous attempt. And again, the map right after Dragon's Gate, as we pick up this stuff, is pretty easy. It is a kill the boss map. So you just rush him down and you can kill him. Most of the enemy units are weak monks or have poison weapons that are weak and wildly inaccurate. But the main reason, outside of all the houses of stuff to sell, why this map is important is that it's the last shop until after Cog of Destiny, which is one of the final maps, where you can buy Pure Waters. It's a terrible FE7 design decision, by the way. Absolutely abysmal, but it is what it is. But the reason we need Pure Waters is because of the map Cog of Destiny. It's a map filled with status staves and annoying magic users that are pretty strong and pretty quick and can do a lot of damage and can be really troublesome. And in GBA Fire Emblem, if you didn't know, status staves hit on res, And since these two boys won't break any resistance stat records soon, we need all the help we can get to make the map slightly easier, since that is the map where the last run had to die. We were soft locked there, and that's when I made the video to ask you all for help. And one of the suggestions was maybe pick up more pure waters. And that is a great suggestion. So whoever suggested that, thank you. It's a great call. It's also my bad because in the last run, I had expected pure waters to be, available post this map, but apparently I should have researched a little bit before doing the run. But either way, this is also why keeping your economy in a good place up to this map is important, because you want the money to be able to purchase those very important pure waters for later. Following this is a survive map that we need to protect Niels. Luckily, it's a 2-tile choke point that can easily be defended by Sain and Kent. The Reaver weapons on this map will make hit rates not fantastic for us sometimes, so it can be a little hard. The best strategy here is actually to just unequip weapons and stand on those 2 spots. But I'll opt for fighting here, as one other issue I had theorized why the previous attempt at the duo run didn't work was that our 2 calves were a little underleveled. So here doing this extra fighting is not a bad idea for that extra experience. And you can easily plan for fighting here in your shopping on the previous maps, as there are weapons that are purchasable. So it's not that big of a deal, as you can prepare for it. A lot of challenge runs in FE7 particularly is about setting up your inventory for the future. So that's why I'm talking about it a lot comparatively to my FE8 runs, where it's not really a problem. You just pick out what you need at the moment. Here, it is a little harder having to think about that because it's such a bigger part of these runs, but it does add a wrinkle that is quite interesting in my opinion. So that's why I'm speaking on it quite a lot today. Something important to note about this map is that in the last attempt that I did of this previously is that I had to rush down to kill the boss, because it is a end the map early, which can also be a strategy, but it's also the drop of the other Nightcrest that in the previous attempt I needed for Kent. So having to block that 2-tile with a unit you're not training with no weapons and a Cavalier Kent was much harder than it is here, where I can use both my paladins to just block that choke point. So that's why I was talking about rushing for the Nightcrest, which is annoying. This is the other map where that is an issue. The reason I don't do the kill the boss strategy is because it takes quite a few turns with a single unit to get all the way to U-bonds at the bottom. So you're not saving that much time, realistically speaking. And it's a little harder since the other unit that needs to be in the way is Isadora, and she's not as strong as Sain would be. So this map becomes much easier than it previously was. Following this will be quite an easy portion of the game for this format with the desert map, where the biggest challenge is not dying of being annoyed by easily the worst combination of elemental effects in FE history, fog of war, and a sand map. I swear to God, I should make a whole video on all the poor design decisions of FE7, because the more I play this game, the more I dislike it. I swear to God. And this map can be annoying in a lot of other challenge formats, such as Iron Man's, because Pent dying causes a game over. You simply don't have much control over him all the way over there. But in this kind of run, if he dies, it's annoying, but we reset the map. Simple as that. It's not a big deal. I will be grabbing the body ring, which Kent will manage to pick up with a total of 6 luck, which is super impressive. Congratulations, Kent. You did something great for once. But other items on this map aren't as necessary. Here, I will do a slight detour to also grab Phila's Might, which is one of Ninian's and Neil's Dancer rings. This is another of those insurance pickups, kind of like the Uber Spear, for the final map to give the stream watchers a satisfying finish in case things don't pan out, since it's a dance that boosts an ally's strength. So if we can't get over that hump, we'll have that little boost just to help out a little bit. I'm not planning on using it if I don't need to. I just thought I'd let you know. And then we'll beat this map pretty easily and we'll move on to beating Lloyd. But before that, a little Athos Santa cameo. Huge shout out to one of my viewers, Isaac at Gaming, for sending me this and making this for me for last year's stream as a little cameo. It was a little bit of a fun wink I want to do because it's a Christmas stream and it is a Christmas video. So Merry Christmas. Thank you, Santa. Don't forget to drop a like for Santa Athos. I guess it's just kind of really cool. But before we start the next map, I'll give Sain both the body ring and the angelic robe that I got earlier. And also earlier, I did give him 1 skill book since he's using axes. I still have 1 in the convoy, which I will end up never using, by the way. But it's still good to know that it's possible to use that one. The reason I give him the body ring is because of Basilicos. It is pretty heavy, so I want him to not be too slowed down by it when fighting the dragon in the end. Simple as that. and also makes him speedier with all kinds of other axes, so it's just good in the end. The Lloyd map, by the way, is quite easy. We can set up on the fort and kill him easily, as his death ends the map, and he moves once you're in range of him, so you can just kind of like rush that quickly. There are a few shops with reaver weapons below that could be useful, but we spent most of our money on earlier shops, so we can't really take advantage of those weapons as well, but it's okay. I don't think we'll need them for the long haul, at least for these two characters specifically, but that's always an option for other maybe potential duo runs. We'll also give the Afters drop to Kent, as he has been growing slightly worse than Sain, so we want to make those growths a little bit better to maybe keep him in the running for doing stuff. Right after that, it'll be time for the most annoying maps for duo and solo runs, not because it's any hard, but because there's just so many reinforcements. That's chapter 25. So you're kind of forced to fill your inventory with iron weapons, since whatever you'll do, you'll get swarmed by all those low-level units, and Merlinus will most likely die early, so you need to make sure you have tons of usage on your side to just fight through all these enemies. But other than annoying, it's easy. Next up, it's Vida Uber Spear time. Alright, so right now I'll walk us through doing this glitch. It's quite simple. You have to set up a mine. The best way to do this on this map is with the bandit from the mountain that will attack if someone is in range. The reason we do the bandit is because bandits have the highest priority just right under Vida on this map, so bandit is your best play. There's a whole thing about unit priority in Fire Emblem that when you know, you can easily abuse. I'm not that familiar with it, but I know it simply for this specific moment. But the moment that bandit steps on the mine, you start seeing the flame animation. Once you see it, you need to press reset on your very legal console. You would never do this on an emulator because, you know, that's theft, right? Right, guys? Jokes aside, you reset your game, and for some reason, when you do resume game, it gives you control of all the enemies, which allows you to move them wherever you want. Now, for getting the Uber Spear, you use this glitch to move Vida closer, but the goal is to get her close enough to the left side shaman that drops Luna, because for some reason, the drop item is coded as the slot in the inventory of the character and not necessarily on the item itself. So if we get Vida to trade her spear with the Luna, then that item becomes the droppable. One thing to be careful of is when you're ending your turn, you have to make sure you get out of Vida's range because she will attack you. And you also kind of want to manipulate where the bandit will go, so you can do a little corridor or whatever. And then you make sure he steps on the second mine when you end the turn. And then you redo the reset action again, and you'll once again have control of the enemy, being able to trade Vida's spear to the Luna. Here you'll see that I'm using Eliwood since he is level 1 and weak. Thanks, Eliwood, you chump. Thank you for being a chump. He is the prime target for this, so the bandit will just want to kill him. And once you grab it, you pick up Eliwood so he doesn't die and game over your game, and you go sit on somewhat safe tiles, and no worries, you'll survive and beat the map. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Next up will be Pale Flower of Darkness, and I must say that we are lucky we have gotten Kenneth's map here and not Germ's, since the requirement is that your magic users' experience must be higher than your Hero Crest users, or you'll get Germ's map. For some reason, the few attacks Sarah dodged early on in the game gave us enough experience on her for this map. The reason I'm actually saying this is lucky is because the Germ version of this map in Hector hard mode can actually be a soft lock. And I'm not even kidding, Fire Emblem's pretty good usually at not soft locking people. But if you enter Germ's map without a door key, because you forgot to buy one or use them all up before, and both your thieves happen to be dead, you actually cannot complete the map, since the game requires you to open 5 doors, but only gives you 4 droppable keys. Technically, there is a 5th, but it's a stealable on an enemy unit. So in Hector hard mode, there's actually a soft lock potential on this map. It's pretty mind-boggling if you ask me, but hey, another great FE7 design decision. So we got very lucky here, since at the time I really wasn't aware of that particular bug. I would only find out later when I tried another duo run live on this stream here on YouTube. Hit subscribe to not miss any of those. It's only then that I found out about this. With all that being said, this map is also important for stat boosters. So the general at the start will drop a free speed wing, which is great, but there's also another stat booster we can get in the form of a talisman. But because we can't open the chest ourselves, as we need to bring weapons to clear the map, so using an inventory slot for a key is just bad form. What we'll do is have to time the thieves correctly and have them be in range to kill when they open the first chest. There's also a blue gem we'll get that way, so that'll be nice for economy. You have to be wary on this map, however, as poor placement will put you in danger of the few long-range purge tomes. None so lethal as Kenneth's, who I will perish to on 1 attempt. We can also grab a Brave Sword on this map by recruiting Harkin, who will spawn instead of Corel if you kill less than 3 promoted units on this map. So if we wait on killing pre-promotes outside of the general, he will spawn and we can recruit him with Sain as Sain replaces Hector in this. So we get that extra weapon for potentially hard bosses. And let me tell you, later in the game, going to be a weapon we're going to lean on a little bit, but you'll see in a few minutes. We will manage to kill Kenneth after dodging his purges for a bit, then we'll clean him up pretty easily. All right, next up is maybe one of the more poorly designed map in all of Heavy history, and that is Battle Before Dawn. Again, I cannot stress enough how many Hector hard mode maps are just bad maps, bad people made these. I have been psychically damaged over this past year with all the FE7 I've played. 2025 psychic damage from FE7. Oh my god. All videos I guess you'll see soon enough, hopefully. Luckily for our purposes today, the only thing we need to worry about is saving Zephyl. Jafar and Nino can die. Who gives a damn? We weren't gonna do that Gaiden anyways. So long, losers. Although if we could get the boots, that would be nice, which is possible by killing a thief after he's stolen them from a chest, because it becomes a droppable. Of course, Jafar is not going to be a homie and he's going to start killing thieves, of course. But that is neither here nor there for now. Luckily enough for us, we have 2 paladin here, which means max movement to quickly get to Zephyl. But even with that on our side, he can still be overwhelmed by reinforcements quickly. It takes only a couple turns for him to be like attacked by sword reavers, which is mind-boggling. But lucky for us, he'll dodge that archer. So very good for us in the end. But after having saved Zephyl with Kent, this being a duo run means that I can send Sain to kill Ursula, who has a long-range bolting tome. So we want to take her off the map as quickly as possible. And killing her stops the reinforcements, which means that this map becomes increasingly less stressful once that is done. The only thing we need to do after that is to make sure that Kent has access to healing and he stays on pillars. And then we can wait out the map. Oh, by the way, Jafar dies, so bye-bye Jafar, bye-bye. Is he going to become the null of this? Probably not. He's much better than null, but we'll have to find a proper null for FE7, right? We'll have to find something. But for now, bye-bye Jafar, bye-bye. Dies in his own little corner. And despite his best effort on the last turn, we managed to kill the thief that has the boots. That way Sain can get himself a nice pair of booty to put on his horse so that the horse can move faster. Don't ask question about Fire Emblem movement logic. Does not make sense. It's just fun. And you can see that having 2 high movement unit here makes this map a lot less difficult. And you might say that then it's not poorly designed because in a normal run, you can bring like 6 really high movement units. But remember that in a normal run, you wouldn't have 2 very over leveled unit like this. So the difficulty of getting to Zephyl is going to be a little harder. Either way, I'm not here to argue with a fake comment that hasn't been made yet. Onto the map that stopped us from progressing last time. This time, before we start, let's take a quick look at both our paladins, who are in a much better spot than last time for sure. At level 17, Sain has a resistance of 12, 3 maxed out stat in speed, skill, and strength. He did get a bunch of stat boosters. We gave him the speed ring, the secret book, the angelic robe, and the talisman. Hello, me again. I wanted to come in here because I said that I would come back later in the video to explain why I don't think it had a big impact, the little bit of a mess up I did. And this is exactly why. When you look at the level 17 Sain, which technically with 3 more levels is your level 20 Sain, this should be what our level 20 Sain looks like. If you compare it to an average level 20 Sain here, he's already way off the charts, right? His extra skill is extra speed, even the maxed out strength, which is average, but the extra skill and speed he got aren't a product of him getting those 3 more levels. They're a product of him just being cracked out of his mind right now for some reason. So of course the 3 last levels we're going to get are going to be like fudging the stats a little bit when you'll see the level 20. But the main stats that matter for why this Saint is so good, which are strength, skill, and speed, aren't really a product of the 3 more levels. Because when you look at level 17, he's already got all those maxed out, which with a speed wing, which he got, and a skill book, which he got, the speed is normal to be maxed out at that point. The skill is just beyond what it should be right now at this point. And also we technically had another skill book in the convoy, so we could have used that to get his skill up, which was never used. But by the way, I thought it was important to come back in here to make this little correction, because while it looks bad at the start, when you look at this level 17 Sain, you see that like Okay, he would have been at level 20 like this. This would have been your 20 Sain. Maybe I get a couple more points in luck and defense and res, and it does matter. At the end of the day, it does kind of matter. But I think the main important stats for like duo and solo runs are speed and strength, generally speaking. At least in my experience doing these kind of runs, were unaffected by the error that I made. At least that's my perspective on it. Please let me know in the comments. Maybe I got it all wrong, but it happens. Here we are. But, you know, it's still a pretty cool run nonetheless. All right. Editor Kratos is done bothering you guys. I'm sorry for the little interruption during your videos. Have fun with your regularly scheduled program. And don't forget to have a Merry Christmas, Jolly Holidays to all those who celebrate. And finish the video. It's a good one. On the other hand, Kent did not get as many boosters. He's a little weaker at level 16, but still decent enough. One of the big things about this map is the reinforcements. There are a lot of them. It's a common theme in this game. Lots of reinforcement. But there is a way to cheese it a little bit. Beyond the first little wave of enemies, no more enemies will start moving or any reinforcements will spawn until you pass one of the zones of reinforcements that you are seeing right now on screen. But there is a bug, or as I like to call it, a feature, where beyond 100 turns, there will be no more rounds of reinforcements on this map. Specifically, it will only trigger the units moving. So just waiting out those 100 turns, which is annoying, can make the map a lot easier. And I'll do that here. I've learned from last year. I will do that here. No point in trying to fight too many enemies, as this is a route map either way. So we kind of do need to wait out the reinforcements anyways, because Merlinus dies early. So it's super easy to just run out of weapons. So it's actually just more consistent play to wait out the turns when you think about it. And Merlinus just always dies early because there's two long range units, a sage and a bishop, that move early that kill him. It's virtually impossible to just keep him alive. My thought process initially was to switch out my inventory later, and I can take out the pure waters for berserks and sleep later by keeping Merlinus alive, but I won't really be able to do that here, as you can see. And as you can also see, when Kent doesn't have Saint's support bonuses, he is way weaker. Those tiny mages are doing like 10 damage a pop to him, and that's like a lot considering. So we need to be careful. We just need to be a little careful. And after the 100 turn wait, you'll see that even bringing Sain along only up there with no support bonuses grants him about 50-ish hit rate with Berserk and 95 with the sleep, which we dodge here. Good job, Sain. Good job. It's pretty insane for that. Bad puns aside, you'll see that when I bring Kent up and we place both of them on the forts, while this felt a little bit like the run, thanks to Sain's Berserk Rampage, the other Valkyries that get triggered by us going there are really strong. Sain does dodge pretty well, but for a bit, it's simply not enough, and we'll game over. So we'll have to keep trying, but you can definitely see that we're on the cusp of figuring it out. So it's close. We just need to try a few things. And you also see that, like, with last year's run where we were a little bit more underleveled, you can see why this map was the soft lock with those hit rates on Berserk, because if Sain is in range of Kent and kills him, it's also a game over. So that becomes an extra layer of annoying that we have to deal with here. And we could just not bring Kent on the map and solo it with Sain, but then he would lose a lot of support bonuses. And while he does the best solo wise, he still kind of benefits a lot from those support bonuses. I rearrange Saint's inventory and give him pure waters because our res number being so low means that dodging all these staves without the pure water is a little bit hoping for too much luck. So we need to make it more consistent, and pure waters will do that for us. And you'll see here that even with using the pure waters, if I move too quickly, this sleep can be a very big problem as the hit rate will remain somewhat high. And without a forest or fort tile, the enemies around will kill Sain pretty consistently. So how do we beat this? Well, first we'll go on the far right fort from the right side, where we'll be able to run out one of the Valkyries from her Berserk, as it is going to have pretty low hit rate by that point with the pure water. It's the only staves she has that can be annoying, so she becomes really easy to handle. It also will help us absorb a few of the purges from that one bishop too, so that gets that out of the way. Then, while keeping Kent all the way back, we'll bring Sain back around to clear the middle units before we start heading towards the fort. Again, this entire time Kent is in the back just doing nothing, just cheering on Sain like a little cheerleader, and we love that for him. because if Sain gets hit by Berserk, Kent is most likely dead, and that's a game over. So I'll put Sain alone on the fort, and here will be a question of hoping to dodge. The sleep staves will most likely hit us, but with the fort avoid, at least most attacks will be pretty bad overall. So it'll be a question of just waiting out a million sleeps. Once that first sleep is done though, we get lucky enough that the Berserk Valkyrie, the second one, is beside us. The hit rate is 69 with the Iron Lance, very nice, which we will use over the Hand Axe. The Hand Axe would give us 1-2 range on enemy phase, but the hit rate is lower, and I favor killing the Berserk Valkyrie faster than being able to counterattack a few enemies quicker, because on the off chance that she moves first, if she Berserk Sain, he'll most likely get off the fort and lose all the good avoid and free healing from it. So that would be bad. And we'll manage to hit, which is good. Beyond that, we'll get hit by a few sleeps. I'll be turning off animations for that step since I was on stream and didn't want to waste too much time of dodging while asleep. And also, I was very close to hitting YouTube's 12-hour max for the VOD to stay on my channel, which is super dumb, but whatever. So I had to turn off animations, just quicken things up a little bit. But once the rigmarole of dodging and killing the Valks is done, the rest of the map will be easy. And we will have gone over this huge mountain of a map. And now there's but one simple obstacle left on our way, with Linus being dead now, with just really the final map. Because for chapter 30 and 31, they'll both be really easy. But as chapter 30 plays in the background, let's talk about our level 20 Kent and Sain. Sain will be pretty amazing. Yes, he did get a bunch of stat boosters, 1 secret book, 1 angelic robe, 1 talisman, and 1 speedwing, but despite that, he is 2 over in HP, maxed out strength, which he should be, technically, 6 above in skill. Absolutely bonkers. There's only 1 secret book I gave him. The other one I didn't even give him. Average on speed, 1 up on defense, 3 up on resistance, which are all really great. His only downside is being 2 below on luck, but I'll really take that trade. As for Kent, he is not bad, but still pretty average. Maxed out HP, skill and speed, as it should be since he had this early angelic robe and the average Kent has maxed out skill and speed. 1 below on strength, considering his early energy ring. Also 1 low on both res and luck, but 1 point above in defense. So not bad, but also not as amazing as Sain. Are we surprised? No, not at all. But he isn't as bad as the previous Kent, so we'll take all the victories we can get here. So after we're done with chapter 30, chapter 31 will just be a sit on the throne and wait with both of the friends. We ain't fighting anything on this map, and I don't think any of the items we can get from the chest are worth the extra effort of fighting through this mass of bullshit. Since killing the boss here only stops the reinforcement, it doesn't end the map. So I don't see the point in pushing through. We'll wait it out. You'll see that I do the guide in here since it allows me to shop and fill my inventory with good weapons such as killer and silver weapons for the upcoming final map. I don't know if I need this level of good items, but better be safe than sorry. After this, chapter 32 isn't like super tough. It's just spammy as hell. So it sucks to do. And you need to pack up with high amount of usage weapons over quality weapons because of the spam of reinforcement. So making it through is tough. Additionally, I'll have the extra wrinkle of carrying around Nils, and that will slow down one of my calves. He's not a game over condition, but it was an insurance policy in case Sain and Kent aren't enough for the final boss. But here we almost don't make it through, and Sain fully runs out of weapon. And when we fight Limstella, Kent only has a handful of uses left on a Jav and a Steel Lance. But luckily for us, Kent beats Limstella with a lucky crit, and we make it through to the final map. So here, before we get going, I must apologize. I forget to turn back animations, which would have been more epic for the final little bit. So sorry for not having good looking animations. I apologize. I fully forgot about them as I was trying to not get past the 12-hour mark for the stream. But basically, the philosophy for this map will be to rush down the top left side to kill the Purge Sage fast, so he can't free cast on us, especially with the game over condition of Eliwood being force deployed. And we will also want to hold up in that little room, because that's where most of our fighting will happen from. But instead of telling you what happens beyond that, I'll just show you. So welcome Kratos from the past as he shows what happens in this final map to end the epic tale of this Fire Emblem Christmas miracle.
Okay, that's kind of bad. So you do need some luck, but at least it's on the first kind of bit that you get that you require the luck. So I kind of don't hate that. Good job. Okay. Okay, you guys can go all the way back here. Wait a minute. Yeah, why did he double earlier? Can strike consecutively. Can or will? Is it just on his attack round that it strikes consecutively? Let's see. Great crit. Okay. The Black Fangs are on the naughty list. Yerp. And Sain is not on the naughty list. Sain is on the good kids list or whatever that list is. Good job, boys. Gish. Pence should be close, I guess. Kind of want to rush. Oh, wait. Ooh, that doesn't work. Okay, so don't do that. Yeah. Kent getting hit by a Darren is awful. I needed Germ alive, I think. This is bad that he's dead. We don't need Excalibur. I think I needed Germ alive to cheese this a little bit more, but we can maybe be fine, I guess. Or maybe we go Killer Lance. I think here. Okay. First step, I think I heal. I think that's the first step, is healing. For both. Germ is alive. Yeah, no, but he's gonna die in about like half a second. Kent needs to stop getting hit. Okay, killing Linus is just awesome for me. Okay. Missed. Don't crit. Okay, good. It's fine. Okay. Darren kill. Get the Rex Hasta. I have to heal him. But the question is, what weapon do I want to fight with? I think this one does the most. Equip lance for weapon triangle advantage. You're right. I just don't have a good lance right now for that. My fear is that... Yeah, you're right. Heal all the way up. Fear is that... Oh, he dodged. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's one off. Oh my god. Okay. I'm doing Cole like that, yeah. Regal Blade we can get rid of. Now what I want to do, I need to get out of here. Fuck. Fast. Fuck. Okay. That's why I wanted Germ alive. Because the thought process was to use like Athos as bait. But I think here we're going to just have to get through that guy. And this open. The problem here is Berserk guy. He's a problem. He's a huge problem for me. What if I give him the bait of Eliwood? I use Santa Spear. I could pick up Santa Spears. So that's why I wanted that guy alive. But, oh wait. Let's end the poll. Okay. You said again, I think you should put a restore on Athos. Yeah, probably. What other weapons? This doesn't weigh him down. No, I fucked up. Okay, no, it's fine. Miss? Okay. That's our chance. Miss was our chance. He's fine. It's almost over. We almost got it. We almost got it, chat. 13. 15. 36. 15. 15 plus 15 is 30. Okay, so he can survive this. He's full health. Okay. 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 Good. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine, chat. That's super fine. Okay. Bring everybody back here. Let's set up our inventories beforehand for Nurgle. Like many hours, it's tense situation. We got this. We got this. Eliwood is Santa's little helper. We got Santa Claus, people. Okay, let's set up our inventories beside Nurgle. Okay, I'm stressing out. I'm stressing out, folks. I just need the best weapons. I just need the best weapon. I don't care about the rest. So you want trade. You want Basilicos. And then you want just a bunch of elixirs. No pure waters. That's what you want. Maybe not for Nurgle, but for the final boss. You're going to want this just in case. Maybe pick this up for Nurgle, actually. Okay. Do I have any more elixirs? I don't. They're all insane. Okay. 36. Trying to make sure Sain's closer just to be safe. And no funny business. Okay. Got you back on. You're right. Sorry. Sorry, gotta put animations back on. You're right. Sorry, maybe. Kent does it. Kent does it. Kent does it. Okay. Okay. Put on Here Comes Santa Claus. I can't, or else I'm gonna get fucking YouTubed. I'm gonna get YouTubed if I do that. You can't. You can only reach Niels. What do you do? Sleep. I don't mind Niels asleep. Okay, we'll figure something out. Okay. The weird looking reindeer. Let's take a look here. 7 damage on the Rex Hasta. 3 on this. Okay. 7 damage with 1% crit. You do 7 damage. Okay, but that's without the... He attacks at 3 range. So what I need to do... Two, 3. I think you go here. Doubles 10. He has so much HP. Think the dragon moves? I don't think he moves. He doesn't move. Okay. I can't attack him. Can only enemy phase him. Dragon doesn't move. That's what I thought. This side is kind of safe. For those guys. Because sleep is one thing. Death is another. And we'll see if Santa Claus is needed. Alright, Sain. You insane son of a gun. Can you do it? Okay. That's 1. That's 20 damage. That's 20 damage. I don't think I need Santa Claus. I think with the elixirs, it's doable. Also, of course, normally I put an elixir cap on my solo runs. But here, I think it'd be insane. I can use as much as I need. I just need the pure damage. I think it's doable. I think it's I know Santa Claus! Santa Claus! Santa Claus! This is it! This is it! Chat! We did it! We saved Christmas! I think we saved Christmas! Go, Sain, go! You deserve that win, buddy. I want him to crit so bad. I want him to crit so bad. I need that 1% crit to happen. I need that 1% crit to happen more than I need to breathe. Come on. This is it. We're saving Christmas. I was there that you didn't just come here at the end. You were here this entire time. Come on, Sain. 1%. 1%. The dragon is a Grinch. It is a Grinch. I'm ending it. I'm ending it, chat. I'm ending it. Come on, Kent. Alright, Sain. Sain bonks her on the head repeatedly. Yes! We did it! 11 hours and 45 minutes stream. Chat. Let's go. Let's go. GG, everybody. If you haven't liked the stream yet, I think that deserves it. Sain the Savior of Christmas. The Christmas Cavaliers save Christmas. And yes, we now know that it is possible to beat Fire Emblem 7 using only Kent and Sain. But man, was it a journey. This stream happened over a year ago, so it's nice to finally get this video out for you all. And who knows, maybe next year we'll see an FE6 Christmas miracle, since this year I streamed the FE6 Christmas Cav in their respective game. But we'll have to see that then and there. I do want to bring up the stats, but we had a lot of time loss due to streaming, but also due to having to make sure insurance policies were available in case things didn't go our way. We didn't have to use any of them, which is good, but we had to do that extra stuff, which makes times and turns quite inaccurate, with 22 hours and 41 minutes for time and 788 turns. It's a little long. I'm sure we could shave those down by a lot. But regardless, I had a lot of fun doing this run, and I might bring you more FE7 Duo Run goodness in the future on this channel, as I really had a lot of fun doing this video. And technically, there is already one completed that could be made into a video soon enough. Hopefully, more will be to come.
If you wish to see more, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments. And this is all for me today. And almost for this year, I have one more video left for you this year, and it's going to be a cool little announcement. So stay tuned for that. And check out the join button below to become a member. I have a few YouTube membership and Twitch sub goals for this month that were unveiled on stream. They should all be on screen right now. The ones completed should be crossed out. So if you want to help us achieve some of them before the end of the year, feel free to become a member now, because the final tally will be announced during that last video at the end of the year. And there's still some time for you to participate and help out. So hit that join button to help out the channel. On that topic, thank you to all my members and Twitch subs for the support, but more particularly my tier 2 and 3 members here on YouTube. Those being the Brawler 456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, the Wolfman 14, Dormigal CH, Stylish, a Grumpy Bear, Reploid, Huaymare, Master of Eevee, and El Bunker del Virgo. All right. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully have a Merry Christmas for all those who celebrate, and very jolly holidays. Thank you for all the support this year. Bye-bye.